The old Victorian house stood on a hill overlooking the town. Its once grand architecture now lay in ruins, a testament to the passage of time and the secrets it held within its walls. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, its windows shattered and its paint peeling away like the layers of forgotten memories. The townsfolk spoke of it in hushed tones, sharing tales of ghostly apparitions and eerie sounds that echoed through the night. A veil of fog clung to its crumbling facade, wrapping the mansion in a shroud of mystery. The fog seemed almost alive, swirling and shifting as if it were a living entity guarding the secrets of the house. It was said that on nights like this, the whispers of the past could be heard, carried on the wind like a mournful song. As if the building itself exhaled secrets into the night, the fog would seep through the cracks and crevices, filling the air with an otherworldly presence. The mansion seemed to breathe, its walls pulsating with the energy of the past. It was a place where time stood still, and the boundary between the living and the dead was blurred. It was a place of shadows and whispers, where the air hung heavy with the weight of forgotten tragedies. The mansion had seen its share of sorrow and loss, and the echoes of those who had once lived there lingered in the darkness. The walls seemed to have a life of their own, whispering secrets to those who dared to listen, where the air hung heavy with the weight of forgotten tragedies. Each room held a story, each corridor a memory. The mansion was a labyrinth of sorrow, its halls echoing with the cries of the past. The very atmosphere seemed to weep, as if mourning the lives that had been lost within its walls. Inside, dust motes danced in the faint moonlight filtering through grimy windows. The interior was a stark contrast to the grandeur it once possessed. Cobwebs adorned the corners, and the furniture lay covered in a thick layer of dust. The air was stale, filled with the scent of decay and neglect. It was as if time had forgotten this place, leaving it to wither away in solitude. A chill permeated the air, sinking deep into the bones despite the summer night. The cold seemed to emanate from the very walls, a reminder of the tragedies that had unfolded within. It was a chill that no fire could chase away, a coldness that spoke of death and despair. This was no ordinary crime scene. This was a place where the veil between the living and the dead felt perilously thin. The mansion was a portal to another realm, a place where the spirits of the past roamed freely. It was a place where the living could feel the presence of the dead, and where the dead could reach out to the living. The victim lay sprawled on the floor, a still silhouette against the faded Persian rug. The scene was a stark reminder of the fragility of life, a once vibrant existence reduced to a lifeless form. The rug, once a symbol of luxury, now served as a backdrop to a tragic end, a once vibrant life reduced to a cold case file. The victim's story was now just another entry in a long list of unsolved mysteries. The mansion had claimed another soul, adding to its legacy of sorrow and loss. Detective Miller, a man who prided himself on his skepticism, felt a shiver crawl down his spine as he stepped across the threshold. He had seen many crime scenes in his career, but there was something different about this place. It was as if the very air was charged with an unseen energy, a force that seemed to watch his every move. The air felt thick, heavy, as though an unseen entity observed his every move. The detective couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone, that the spirits of the past were watching him. It was a sensation that made his skin crawl, a feeling of being watched by eyes that were no longer of this world. A faint, sweet scent lingered in the air, lilies and decay, a disconcerting perfume for a murder. The scent was a reminder of the life that had been lost, a haunting fragrance that seemed to cling to the very fabric of the house. It was a scent that spoke of death and decay, a final farewell to a life cut short. Eleanor Wright, a woman known for her kindness and gentle spirit, was a beacon of hope in her community. She spent her days volunteering at local shelters, organizing charity events, and always had a warm smile for everyone she met. Her presence was a source of comfort and inspiration to many, but this beacon had been brutally silenced. Her life, dedicated to charity and filled with the love of her community, was tragically cut short. Eleanor's sudden and violent death sent shockwaves through the town, leaving everyone in a state of disbelief and sorrow. The tragedy unfolded within the walls of her own home, a place that once radiated warmth and love. Now it stood as a grim reminder of the brutality that had taken place. The very essence of the house seemed to be stained by the horrific act, casting a dark shadow over its once bright and welcoming facade. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with a palpable darkness that clung to every surface. The cheerful memories that once filled the rooms were overshadowed by an overwhelming sense of dread. But why? Who would want to harm a woman like Eleanor, who had only ever brought light and kindness into the world? The detective assigned to the case, Detective Miller, meticulously examined the scene. The signs of a struggle were evident: an overturned lamp, scattered papers, and a shattered vase. Each clue painted a picture of the violent confrontation that had taken place. Yet amidst the chaos, there was a strange sense of order. It was as if the perpetrator had left behind a deliberate trail, almost taunting the investigators. This unsettling feeling gnawed at Miller, making him question every detail he observed. The more he delved into the investigation, the more Miller felt an inexplicable presence. It was a sensation that sent shivers down his spine, a cold whisper against the back of his neck. This presence wasn't malevolent, but it was filled with a deep, haunting sorrow. It was as if the very walls of the house were crying out, a desperate plea for justice that seemed to emanate from every corner. The sorrowful whisper carried a weight of unspoken words, a story that demanded to be heard and understood. As Detective Miller continued his investigation, he couldn't shake the feeling that Eleanor herself was guiding him, urging him to uncover the truth. The house, once a symbol of her kindness, now stood as a testament to her untimely demise and the quest for justice that would not be silenced. Days bled into nights, the city never truly sleeping, always buzzing with an undercurrent of mystery and unease. The investigation into Eleanor's disappearance was relentless, yet it seemed to be going nowhere. The investigation hit dead ends at every turn. Each clue seemed to dissolve into thin air, leaving the detectives more puzzled than before. The forensic team found no conclusive evidence, no fingerprints, no witnesses. Frustration gnawed at Detective Miller, who felt the weight of the case pressing down on him. He found himself drawn back to the old house, as if compelled by an unseen force. The house stood as a silent witness to the secrets it held, its eerie presence beckoning him. Each visit brought subtle, unexplainable occurrences. Lights flickered without reason, and shadows seemed to dance in the corners of his vision. A book misplaced from his last visit would be found open, as if read and carefully marked. It was as though the house itself was trying to communicate with him. One evening, while studying the case files, a cold draft suddenly swept through his office. The chill was unnatural, sending shivers down his spine. Papers scattered, and a faint humming sound seemed to reverberate from the evidence box containing Eleanor's belongings. It was as if the box itself was alive, whispering secrets. Hesitantly, Miller opened the box. His hands trembled slightly, anticipation and fear mingling in his mind. Inside, a simple silver locket lay nestled amongst her things. It was delicate, almost fragile, yet it seemed to hold a powerful presence. As he picked it up, an image flashed in his mind. A shadowy figure, a struggle, a glint of metal. The vision was so vivid, it felt like a memory, rather than a mere hallucination. Miller knew he was on the brink of uncovering something profound, something that could change everything. The visions became more frequent, each one revealing a fragment of the night of the murder. He saw flashes of movement, heard snippets of conversation. The scent of lilies intensified whenever these visions took hold. Miller, a man of logic and reason, found himself questioning his sanity. Was he cracking under the pressure of the case, or was something else at play? The locket became a conduit, a bridge between the world of the living and the spectral realm of the dead. Through it, Miller began to understand Eleanor's final moments, her fear, her desperate struggle for life. He realized the ghost wasn't seeking revenge, but justice. She wanted her story told, her murderer exposed. Torn between his skepticism and the undeniable evidence before him, Miller found himself at a crossroads. How could he possibly explain the unexplainable, the chilling visions, the ghostly whispers to his colleagues? Would they believe him or dismiss him as delusional, a detective who had finally cracked under pressure? He knew he couldn't ignore the evidence, however unbelievable it seemed. Eleanor's pleas for justice echoed in his mind, urging him forward. The detective decided to trust his instincts, to follow the trail of breadcrumbs left by a ghost, even if it meant risking his reputation, his career, his sanity. He owed her that much.